Hello, it's Sarah from Sassy Reads, and I guess this is week 2 of this reading vlog thing. So, I don't know when the first reading vlog is going to go up because I'm having some editing issues. Hopefully that'll be up before Saturday. But with teaching all day long, I don't really have time to work out all those technological difficulties because, I teach. But this is me starting this vlog. I haven't really done much reading because when I was at home Tuesday and most of Monday, I was trying to work out those technical difficulties, but I'm still getting used to video editing and stuff because that's not really my strong suit as far as technology goes, but I'm hoping to improve. So I am currently reading The Graveyard Apartment. Here is my copy. Yes, I am currently on page 241, chapter 18, and it's about to go down. So if you didn't watch my last vlog, go watch it because that's when I started reading this book. It is a Japanese horror novel about a family who purchases an apartment right next to a temple, a graveyard, and it also just so happens that a subterranean tunnel was built underneath the graveyard, and those spirits are pissed off about it. And it just so happens that that tunnel ends in the basement of this apartment complex that is set up in a horribly designed way. The elevator goes all the way up to the top, all the way down to the first floor, but not the basement. It goes down to the basement. The elevator goes down to the basement. The only way to get in and out of the basement is through the elevator. The surface floors, the steps and all that, you can go from the 1st to the 8th. And I think there's 14 available rooms in the entire hotel. But you can't take the stairs down to the basement, so you're trapped. Of course, spooky things ensue. I have thoughts. The more I'm reading this and the closer I'm getting to the end, the less I'm liking it. Especially after what just happened. I'm not a fan. It's super cliche. Spoilers, I guess. Maybe. So, obviously they're trying to escape this apartment, right? That's a large plot. But at some point, they end up having the possibility to move out of the apartment, and that goes horribly awry because naturally the house they're looking for burns down, and then the apartment that they had for backup, the tenant ends up dying in it, and they have to do a whole cause of death thing. Absolutely, obviously connected, not a coincidence, and that's the whole point. They're it's not a coincidence, but unimpressed. Okay. Also, the thing that I've come to hate about this book is I hate the timeline spread because we'll go from one day, the next day, and then we'll jump 2 weeks. Or we'll go from one day, 1 month, and then we'll jump ahead to boom, 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 boom. It's too much. It's way too much for me. So I am not a fan of this one. It's it was a 3-star, but now I'm kind of leaning to 2.5, so the ending will decide my fate. I did get a book in the mail today, though. I got my pre-order for The Bishop of Hell by Marjorie Bowen. I've been collecting these Monster She Wrote editions. Maybe a reading vlog on these? That would be fun. So yeah, look at this cover. Awesome. Fantastic. I love these editions by Valancourt. I think they're beautiful. I love these colors too. So I have to go. My mom needs me to call her. I will talk to you later. Hello. Last night, I finished reading The Graveyard Apartment by Mariko Kayoki, translated by Deborah Bolivier Bowen. Finished this. I settled for 3 stars. Super cliche ghost story. I did end up liking the ending because it was ominous and had no ending, but you can infer the ending kind of, and I like that. But I was looking at some reviews and I agree with them when they said that there's like no buildup here. It's not really terrifying or spooky. And besides the setting, these ghosts, you don't know if they're ghosts or if they're demons or what. And with the ending, you get like no context. Like, okay, is there a giant monster in the basement? Are they demons? Are they just angry, vengeful ghosts and spirits? It doesn't make any sense because there's no wrap up and there's no decision in what these entities are supposed to be, and you're just supposed to be okay with that. Sorry, I'm not okay with that. Better ghost fiction, spirit fiction, whatever you want. If you like the concept of this, you like isolated, creepy locations, The Elementals by Michael McDowell was so much better. I gave that one 5 stars. This one, 3 stars. Like, the only reason I decided not to give it 2.5 stars was because I did like some aspects of it. Like, I liked it. I didn't think it was okay. It was better than okay, but it wasn't something I really care about. And the only reason I'm going to be keeping this book around for a while is because it's a translated copy. But I feel like within 6 months to a year, that novelty will wear off and I will get rid of it. So, it's one of those books that, I don't know, most of the people that I saw ratings from all gave this one 3 to 4 stars. I didn't see any 5 stars from my friends or people that I really like following in the horror booktube or book community. And then, like, it seems like no one is really a fan of this one. It's like, it's just something they read and we're like, okay, yeah, that was an experience. So, do I recommend this? Yes, if you're interested in reading more translated Japanese horror, but I also feel like there's probably better Japanese translated horror out there. Like, I think I've heard Miso Soup. Is that what it's called? I've heard that one's really good. If you have any Japanese horror that you would like to recommend to me, please do. I don't want to read Mariko Kaoki. I know she's got like 2 other books translated. I am not interested in her writing. She's not for me, but I get why people like her. Just not for me. I did finish another book today. I finished Over the Woodward Wall by A. Deborah Baker, which is a pen name for Shannon McGuire. It's connected to Middle Game, but I haven't read Middle Game yet, so I don't know how it's connected. But I think it's like a story reference in Middle Game. Like, it's like this really important story to the characters. I got an arc of it, and then I saw that they had the audiobook at the library, and I love listening to Shannon McGuire's books on audio. So I was like, even though she's A. Deborah Baker, it kind of felt a lot like a Wayward Children story because it's about these 2 kids named Zib. Yeah, it's Zib. Her name is Hepzibah, so she goes by Zib. And Avery. And Zib is, you know, this carefree kid. She likes to have fun and go on adventures. And Avery is this really, like, stoic little boy who's very serious. He's basically like a prim and uptight adult in a child's body. It's kind of weird. I don't even know most adults who are that uptight. That kid was so, like, straight-laced. But they end up having to take a detour one day because their road to get to their different schools is closed, and they end up finding a wall, claiming the wall, and traveling to the up and under. Pretty sure that's what it's called. It does set up potential for a sequel, which I will be reading. I gave Over the Woodward Wall 4.25 stars. I liked it. I definitely enjoyed it more than this. But in regards to other things that I've read by Shauna McGuire, like the Wayward Children books, I've only read the first 4, and then I've read Into the Rolling Deep. Is that what it's called? I think so. I love that book by Myra Grant, which is another one of her pen names. I like her stuff. This one I liked, but like I didn't love, and I feel like it could have been a number of things. I don't think it was the narration, because I liked the narration. I think it was more the story itself, because I remember at one point I was like, oh, we're having the same plot over and over again. And I got a little frustrated, and I was like, oh, I'm tired of hearing the same thing happen. And then I realized we were re-encountering a story that we had already gotten to the end of, but from the beginning of a different perspective. And I don't think that narrative style worked for me in this capacity of storytelling, but I did really like the world. I liked the adventures that they're going on, and I like where the sequel is going to go. I also like that the sequel doesn't lead up to potential like resolution. Like there could be, even with another book, more sequels depending on how horribly their next adventure goes. And I like that this book was like pockets of adventures. Instead of just one long adventure, it had like different narrative structures throughout. I also love this about Shauna Maguire, but her portal fantasies, and I wrote an essay on portal fantasies when I was in college for a young adult class, and I talked all about how portal fantasies are able to tackle some of the most important areas of social commentary. And I love that about Shauna Maguire, because in Over the Woodward Wall, she talks about how like the kingdom structures versus politics, and there was some really good commentary on building walls and creating walls, and I loved it. And then there was, usual great commentary. She always has good commentary on gender and sexuality and identity. And I thought there was this really profound scene, even though like Avery and Zib, I think, are in like, they're like 6 or 7 years old. They're kind of like young. Maybe they're a little older. Maybe they're like 11 and I'm aging them down. They read young to me. But there's this great scene where she's talking to a crow girl, and the crow girl says like, yes, I look like a girl, but just because I look like a girl doesn't mean I am one. And just because you look like something doesn't make you something. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And the crow girl was like, I'm a crow girl, but I'm not a crow girl. And I was like, oh, that's like really nice commentary. And I feel like a lot of younger readers, because I think this is a middle grade, and I definitely recommend this for middle schoolers for sure. Not elementary, that's probably way too young, even though I just said they were like, I aged them down. I do that a lot. But yeah, I enjoyed that, and it made me want to read some more Wayward Children books. So maybe this month or next month, I'll dive into some more of them. Can't wait. I started rereading an audiobook of Vampire Kisses by Ellen Schreiber, because I used to love that series when I was in middle school. And I saw that they had the audiobook of the first book at the library, and I was like, oh, I want to read that. I also want to reread Twilight. Don't at me, like, I know what Twilight is. I understand. That doesn't mean that I'm not a lover of it, okay? But I don't know. I just want to have fun and reread things that I used to love as a kid, because I like to discover if it like holds up or if it's complete trash, which I have some fun video ideas planned that I want to do this year. And I'm hoping to do a lot of them in the summer when I'm not surrounded and dying with trying to prep my kids for standardized tests and all kind of other stuff. Because, if you're a teacher, or even if you were a student who took standardized tests, you understand. So I will see you later. Oh, well, hello. It's the 19th of March. The last time I updated you guys was like a week ago. I don't even know what I've read since the last time I've updated you guys. It's been really weird. I went to like a really great conference at my church, and then everyone in my city is coming down with this like viral bug, and everyone on my Facebook feed was like, I have this virus. And then I caught that virus, and I was sick all day yesterday. And I just haven't been in the mood to read much. But, like, I have been reading, but I haven't been reading. And it's been just so weird because normally I'm, like, super dedicated to something. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to read every night. And I haven't been doing that this week, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Because I always find that within the middle of March, I always get slumpy. Like, it happens every year for me. It's kind of just like a thing at this point. But I have read stuff since the last time I updated you. Like, I think I finished Feelings, which was this really great, artistic, illustrated story about, walking through different seasons. It was just a beautiful illustrated book, and I loved the art. I thought it was so beautiful, so I gave that 5 stars. I also read, what else did I read? I read, like, all kind of stuff that I can't even remember. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so horrible. You know what? I'm just gonna, like, put up pictures of all the stuff that I've read recently. Here you go. Here you go, all these pictures. It's been rough, and, like, I still have, like, this foggy brain from being in, like, recovery, because even though my virus only lasted, like, 5 hours, yesterday morning, I, like, had a long recovery in the afternoon, and today I went back and I taught, and so I definitely, like, feel it on my body, because I'm very tired. But, like I said, I have been reading, because, you know, it is March, and it's Women's History Month. I wanted to read some more of the Monster She Wrote books, and this is the one that I really have been the most excited about. It's called The Women of Weird Tales. There are stories from Everell Worrell, Eli Coulter, Mary Elizabeth, Councilman, and Gray Laspina. And of course, Melanie R. Anderson gave a introduction. I have always been really interested in weird tales since I was younger. Not that I've ever, like, had one or anything, but I just think that the collections and the magazines of horror and science fiction and fantasy are so fascinating to me. And it's even more fascinating that these women were some of the best-selling and most fan-voted stories, and yet it's so hard to even hunt them down, much less know their names. But, like, these women, like, especially I think Gray Laspina and Everell Worrell, basically were, like, the thing at Weird Tales. Like, their stuff was the stuff that attracted readers and had people flocking, and it's so fascinating. I'm on page 67, so I'm not super far in, but I've read The Remorse of Professor Penabianco by Gray Laspina, and I gave that one, I want to say 4.5 stars. I thought it was really funny because it, like, straight up read like Twilight, and I feel like Stephanie Meyer had to have come across this short story because, like, the girl in it is like, I'm so irrevocably in love with you, and then the guy sounds exactly like Edward Cullen, and he's like, all she wants to do is kiss me, and I just want to find a soul and put it in this orb. And it was super tragic because, like, you obviously can tell what the mad scientist is gonna do. But, like, I loved it because they were all Italian. I'm pretty sure they were all Italian. And they would randomly just talk in Italian, and, like, I don't know, I just thought it was so much fun. And it had, like, a really good vibe. And I really like Everell Worrell's writing style. I thought it was very accessible. And even though you could tell she was writing, like, a historical horror piece for that short story, it was still a lot of fun. The next short story, oh, I'm sorry, that wasn't by Everell Worrell. That was by Gray Laspina. But yeah, I do like Gray Laspina's writing style. However, my homegirl so far is Everell Worrell. I love Lenora. Okay? Lenora The second short story in this collection, Lenora by Everil Worrell. Everybody needs to read that story. That story slaps like nobody's business. It's about this girl named Lenora. She's walking around at night. She likes to go on her little walks in the midnight. You know, she's one of those girls. And all of a sudden, there's a freaking hearse. You know, one of them fancy race cars. And she ends up coming into contact with a man who wants to give her a ride. And she's writing this story from the insane asylum and telling us how she went crazy. That story, so good, y'all. The writing was immersive. The storytelling and the plot was intense. I was just so interested and fascinated, and it was so good. I cannot recommend Lenora enough. And then the third short story is The Dead Wagon, and this one's by Gray Laspina. I gave Lenora 5 stars, by the way. The Dead Wagon was interesting. I gave this one 4 stars because I thought it was a little long, and not like in this really beautiful way. It was like a little long, like it drug out a little too long for me. But I really liked the concept of the dead wagon and the fact that this family has this curse on them, and there's like a mark that'll appear on the door with chalk when the soul or demon or whatever is coming to take the soul of the next in line in the family. And I also enjoyed how the ending was hopeful and not as tragic. It was a sweet story. I'm currently reading The Canal, which I'm like, man, this dude is stupid. So I will update you on my thoughts on The Canal. I would actually really like to finish this book tonight because it's a Friday night and big girls got big girl goals. But as we all know, I never complete my goals when it comes to reading in the month of March. So will I even finish The Canal? I'll let you know. Okay, I finally remembered 2 of the books that I read over the weekend since the last time I updated you. I read Why She Wrote, which is a nonfiction graphic novel type thing. Like it's nonfiction, but it also has like graphic novel elements, and it's blended together about women who are famous writers. It stops, I think, if I remember correctly, in like the 1800s. Who was the last person in that collection? I know Louisa May Alcott was in there, and then I want to say like Frances, whatever her name is, the lady who did this little Princess in the Secret Garden, and then the Velveteen Rabbit lady. Like those are the last 2 I remember in the collection. So it doesn't go far up into history. Well, it goes far back in history, but not like current. Fogged brain, okay? So I give that one 3.25 stars. Not as lit and as bomb as Monster She Wrote. This isn't my copy of Monster She Wrote, but same concept. Look, find the book that looks like this. It's got it's green with him on it. Yeah, I love Monster She Wrote. I give that one 4.25 stars, which is high for me when it comes to like nonfiction academia. And I also purchased and read Sheets by Brenna Thumler. This was super cheap, so I got it because I realized I had the Ark, and I didn't know the Ark was like, I didn't realize Delicates was a sequel to Sheets, which it says it when I requested the Ark, so I don't know what I was thinking. All I saw was a cute ghost on a graphic novel, and I was like, request. So I bought this. I thought this was really cute. I think I'm gonna give this one like 4.25 stars. I like the story, and I think the art is beautiful. Let me see if I can find like a good ghosty one. Ghosties everywhere. Ghosties. I actually think I'm probably gonna put this in my classroom because I feel like a lot of my kids would have fun with this. This is a beautiful story. What was her name? Marjorie, yes. Marjorie, she is currently like running her family's laundromat, and after her mother's tragic passing, her father is very depressed and he just doesn't leave the room at his house, and she's pretty much like 13 years old and running this laundromat by herself. And this man wants to come buy the laundromat and not even pay them for it, but give them jobs at his yoga spa. And it's just, he's a jerk. But I just love the page breaks too in this story. Here's that creepy guy who's trying to bust up her life. And she ends up getting entangled with a ghost named Wendell, who has crossed over into our dimension when he is supposed to stay in the ghost dimension. So Wendell broke some laws, some ghosty laws. But this story was sweet, and I loved the topic of grief and death here, because I felt like it explored that depression, that loneliness, that sadness, and that longing in such a way that I don't think I've ever really seen in a graphic novel for kids before. So this is definitely something I want to put in my classroom, because I feel like a lot of my kids will connect with it. And even though like I'm a grown adult, I still got a little teary-eyed because like I connected with this too. Like I've lost someone, and I'm sure anyone who's lost someone will feel the same way that Marjorie has, or that Wendell does too, because Wendell has lost his life, and so he has grief too. And it was cute, it was sweet. I'm excited to read Delicates, so I will let you know what I think about Delicates. But Sheets was pretty good. I actually haven't seen anyone on BookTube talk about this, so I didn't even know this book existed, but I guess it's got like a pretty big fan base, so I'm missing out, but not anymore, because I foolishly ordered the sequel through NetGalley and didn't realize this was the first book. But now I can read Delicates and let you know my thoughts, because I think Delicates actually came out earlier this month. So catching up on the arcs. At least I'm trying to. I'm not doing a very good job at it though. You guys remember last clip? I said on Friday I was gonna finish this book. Yeah. Today is Wednesday. Yes, it's Wednesday. I finished this last night on Tuesday, so it took me a couple of days to finish. I don't even think I actually did much reading Friday night. And then Saturday and Sunday, I can't even remember what I did. I can tell you that no reading got done. Like, intense reading. I did read a lot on Sunday, I remember. And I think I read some on Saturday, but not enough to, like, finish this book. So, that's where we were. Last time I updated you, I was on The Canal by Everil Worrell. And so The Canal is apparently her most famous or well-known story. There was a Night Gallery episode based off of it. I haven't watched that one yet, but I am interested in checking it out. Let's see, what did I give The Canal? Let me give you my rating. Well, anyway, The Canal is about this guy who walks towards a canal late at night, and there is a girl on this really rundown boat, and she's like, I can't cross the water. You can't come over here. My father is sleeping. No, you can't meet him in the day. I'll be sleeping. And it gets spooky. I really like Everil Worrell's ambiance. I feel like she's fantastic at writing these really dark, like, it's not romantic, but it's got like this vibe of like, I don't know, maybe it is a little romantic, because most horror does originate from the romantic gothic genre. So I do feel like some of her writing takes that romantic gothic overtone, and I think Everil Worrell really captured that in The Canal. I gave this, oh my gosh, I choked on my own spit. Okay, I'm not going to refilm this, okay? So I'm not deleting that. You're just going to have to watch me choke. I gave The Canal 4.25 stars. I love a good vampire story, so that was fun. But I thought it was very drawn out, and it took a while to get there. So, like, the payoff was there. But before the payoff, I was very bored. Like, it took me 2 days to read a 20-something page story. because I'm just, my attention span, you guys, it's not there. The next story in this collection is called The Curse of a Song by Eli Coulter. Eli Coulter, she wrote like westerns and a couple of horror short stories. This story is thick. Like, you guys see that? This story is like 40, 50 pages. It goes from page 81 to 112. I'm not doing the math. You do it. That's a thick story compared to all these other ones. So anyway, The Curse of Song by Eli Coulter. This is the only short story in the Women of Weird Tales by Eli Coulter. So it feels a little weird because it's like, well, everyone else got more than one, but she only got one. So I'm like, why is she even in this collection? I did read a review on Goodreads, and I really liked the review, and I got some great Women of Weird Tales collection, and I found an Everett Worrell collection that was just published. Okay, I don't know what Jolie's doing, but she is, I guess, changing positions in the house. So, anyway, what's this thing called? The Curse of a Song. Interesting concept. Like, we follow this guy who is recounting this story of a girl that he wasn't in love with, but he was like best friends with, and her family had this curse on them placed by an uncle who went crazy when it came to this one song. And so the song, if anytime the family would hear it, they would either die or go crazy or something horrible would happen. And so it was interesting. I did like it, but the ending sucked. And the ending pretty much ruined it for me. Yeah. I still stand by that. Ending was not good. 3 stars. I don't know if I would read another Eli Coulter story. I mean, if it's in like another collection, Bind Up by Boy, of course I'll read it like that. But I don't think she's the author I would hunt down for. Because out of this one in the collection, it wasn't that strong to me. Interesting idea, but the writing, the characters, and then the wrap-up wasn't enough to make me want more. So I don't know if I want more from her. Then the next short story is called Vulture Crag by Everett Worrell. And this one is about a guy who ends up being convinced by a scientist to make a wealthy investment in this one's a little thick too, in this great experiment where he will take their bodies, put them into a sleeping state, and their souls will be able to transcend from their forms and travel into outer space. Y'all, Vulture Crag is like really interesting. This story was published, I think, let me see, I can tell you the exact date because I wrote them down on my pages. Vulture Crag was published 1928 in August. Okay, and can I tell you guys, it's a little like forward thinking for a short story published in 1928. The science fiction concept, Everett Worrell, she's so good. And I really liked Vulture Crag. I thought it was haunting. I thought it was spooky. I thought it was scary how there were these giant vultures who wanted to eat your flesh flying around this mansion. And then all these people are just chilling in this mansion with their souls in space floating. And it's like you don't know what's going on. And it was a fun time. So yeah, I gave this one 5 stars because obviously I thought it was interesting. I love a good science fiction horror mashup. And I love the ending. I thought it fit the story. It fit the tone. It fit the narrative. It fit the characters. And it also fit with message that had been interwoven. So I wasn't like blindsided or anything. But I do have a feeling a lot of people won't like it because Everett Worrell can be kind of like heavy-handed with her God stuff. But like, that doesn't bother me. Like, I love Jesus, so like if you want to bring Jesus into this haunting story about a man who's trying to play God and steal your soul, then you go ahead, sis. I'm here for that. And I liked it. We have another Everett Worrell story called The Rays of the Moon. The Rays of the Moon. Okay, do I remember this one? I remember it, but I'm trying to make sure I don't like mix it up with another one. Hold on, give me 1 second. Yes, okay, The Rays of the Moon. I remember this one. So this one was kind of short. It flew by really fast. I also gave this one 5 stars because this one was creepy. It's about this guy who goes to this graveyard to steal a body, which, like, that was a huge thing back in the day. It's not really something that we see today in 2021. It's very rare that you'll find a case of grave robbing, but back in the day, science and medicine, they had to find cadavers, and the black market was their grave robbing. And so he's robbing this grave, and the rays of the moon are shining down upon him. And then all of a sudden, he and the person whose grave he's robbing starts to move up from the grave. And then he looks around as he's floating into the sky, and he sees other people, other bodies, other corpses floating up in the rays of the moon. And that was horrifying because this dude totally deserved it. Like, if there's no better way to scare a guy who's trying to rob your grave, that's it. And then, like, I totally saw the twist coming. Like, I knew, obviously, whose grave he was robbing. But I still enjoyed watching him be scared poopless. Like, I was here for it. I hated him. I thought he was a horrible human being. So I was like, yes, scare him. Snatch his dirty, coily hair. Because he was I, like, pictured him to have, like, straight black hair that just, like, hung right here and kind of, like, would flap in the wind or something like that. You know, just, like, someone who's kind of skeevy looking. And, like, I really like the concept of morality in this one because the person whose grave he is robbing clearly says, like, you turned another soul into a murderer. You have the soul of a murderer. You just haven't committed it. And then that ending, the rays of the moon was good, y'all. I liked it. The Grey Killer, I really enjoyed The Grey Killer. Did I give this one 5 stars? If not, like, I'm changing my rating if I didn't give it 5 stars because I think I would have been stupid not to give it 5 stars. Yeah, okay, I wasn't stupid. I gave The Grey Killer 5 stars. Also by Everett Worrell. My girl just got all the stories in this collection right now, okay? I really like Everett Worrell. Another 5-star. The Grey Killer, y'all, H.P. Lovecraft has nothing on this woman's mythos. Like, oh my gosh, we follow this woman. What's her name? It is, they tell us, like, we're in her diary. And her name is, what was her name? Wheaton. Okay, but what's her first name? Her last name is Wheaton. What's her first name? I want Marion. Okay, so Marion Wheaton, we're in her diary. She stepped on a rusty nail, and now she's up in this hospital. And then this guy, this doctor who goes by Dr. Ziegler, comes, and he's like, I can give you this medicine, and it'll make you feel good. And she's like, no, you look a little gray, a little pasty. I feel like you're deaf. I do not want this. And so she tells him to leave. Well, then all of a sudden, these other patients start having these encounters with him, and they're miraculously cured. And then it turns out they all get leprosy. So it's like, well, how did they get leprosy? Where did this come from? And it's so good. Oh my gosh, I love a good alien story. I love a good giant Cthulhu type mythos. And, like, I'm saying Cthulhu, but it's more, I guess, kind of like Elder Gods type spectrum. They call this thing, like, the monster god of space or devil god of space. And it was so good. Like, I was totally here for this story. It was really out there, but it was so fascinating. And I love cosmic horror. I do. I struggled with H.P. Lovecraft because I think he's a racist twat muffin. And I could care less for most of his narratives. And I don't want to read him calling a black cat, the N-word, 42 times in a short story. And I don't want to read that boring, there were so many boring books in this one collection that I read. I have a review of it. It gets a lot of comments still. So if you want to go comment and learn why I liked them, but I also hated a lot of them. Me and him, after years of reflecting, I think I would only recommend like 2 or 3 of his stories. I don't jive with him. He's super racist. I could care less about him. But Everett Worrell, she's not problematic, at least that I've discovered yet. So, because she's a woman ahead of her time who was basically pioneering weird stories and being awesome, because these stories are freaking fantastic. Like, I've had like 4 or 5 stars from her in this collection alone. She's the backbone of this short story collection. If it wasn't for her stories, I think that I'd probably give this like 3 stars overall. But y'all, her mythos, if you guys know any other short stories by Everil Worrell where she has like alien mythos or giant creature mythos, let me know, because I want to read them. I love her writing. She's so freaking good. The next story in this collection is called The Blackstone Statue by Mary Elizabeth Councilman. This one was interesting. I think I read these Monday night. Yeah, I read this one Monday night. The Blackstone Statue, Mary Elizabeth Councilman, she's a newer introduction in here. She's randomly placed in the middle, and I think she has like 2 or 3 stories, so it's kind of like random to just throw her in here. I think they would have done a better job if she had been at the beginning of this collection. That way we could have gotten a palate cleanser of her before she's randomly thrown in the middle. By this point, we've read like a large portion of Everil Worrell's stories, and she's the rising star. But The Blackstone Statue by Mary Elizabeth Councilman was pretty good. I gave it 4.5 stars, which is great for a short story. I like the concept a lot, and it actually felt a lot like something I could see like in a Ray Bradbury collection. Like, it felt very much like that. It had this like same tone of otherworldliness. Like, I traveled to this destination, something happened to me, there was this weird alien type encounter, I came back forever changed, here's a plot twist and another plot twist, and then like it kind of also like had Twilight Zone elements. So like if you like the Twilight Zone, I think you're gonna like the Blackstone Statue. And if you like Ray Bradbury, you'll probably like this story too. I jived with it, I liked it. But I didn't find the beginning very gripping, and it took me probably about 5 pages to get into it, which when you're reading a short story, the longer it takes, the quicker it is to lose your reader. So then there's this story called The Web of Silence, and I have mixed feelings with this story because I gave it 4 stars. Like, the concept of a town not being able to hear anything and to like being to talk and just can't hear and like there's no sound is horrifying. The conclusion was not horrifying. It felt like a big giant joke and a hee hee ha ha, and because of that, that's why it lost. Like, I think it would have been 5 stars for me if she kept the tone, but she switched up her tone, and because of that, it lost impact. And The Web of Silence fell short for me, because if I'm going to read a story in a horror collection, I want it to stay horror. I don't want its tone to switch to this weird, kooky, haha, joke's on you kind of thing. Haha, not really even a joke. Haha, look at science. Like, I don't want to read that. That doesn't fit the tone of this collection, and so I think they did Mary Elizabeth Councilman a disservice by putting this story in the collection, because I'm sure she's written a lot better, actually scary short stories that are scary throughout. This one lost tone and pacing, and because of that, I'm going to be critical of it. Like, I can't just be like, yeah, I love the concept so much, 5 stars. No, like, you could not carry out your concept all the way through, and you butchered the tone of it. That's not strong writing at all. Okay? That sounded very harsh, but, like, I'm going to dock stars for that. Like, it's just, it doesn't make sense to also have it in this kind of collection. Like, if this was just a Mary Elizabeth Councilman collection, like, yeah, that story probably would have been a 5 star, but it's not marketed in such a way. And then also the tone thing completely like threw it off anyway, so I don't see myself ever giving that story 5 stars. It's just, you gotta be consistent for me when you're a writer. Consistency shows strength. It shows like leveling up, right? So now we're entering back into Gray Lespina. We had 2 Gray Lespina short stories at the beginning. We had the very first one about the mad scientist, which I really liked, and then we had another one about the door had the like chalk on it and the family was cursed, which I liked but had some issues with. So now we have The Deadly Theory, which I'm pretty sure I read all these Grey Laspina ones last night. If not last night, I read the Deadly Theories Monday night. But the Deadly Theory, gosh, what was this even about? Oh, okay, the Deadly Theory. Okay, I really liked the concept of this one. This one, we follow a guy who meets another guy at a bar, and he's like, you look like my old friend Julian Cross. He was an artist, and he would draw these paintings. Well, he would paint these paintings, and he had this series of beautiful women, and they sold like crazy. It was all the same woman, and then her image shifted, and it became these very sorrowful images. And he's like telling us the story of the woman he fell in love with, Marza, her uncle Elisha, who practices like some alchemy type stuff, and the sister who killed the love of his life. Interesting, super interesting concept. But like the ending, she could have like drove it home harder, and she didn't. Like, she kind of just left it kind of like a little blanketed statement, and I was like, it just and then like the pacing too for me, which is why I'm giving this 4 stars and not higher. The pacing was not there, and it was so hard to connect at the beginning because we're hearing the story from the perspective of a different character, and it's like, well, why do I care what his reaction is? I'm interested in Julian's story, and I wish that he had just been the narrator and we were reflecting on his life without this random dude in a bar being like, oh yes, I know him, look, he's missing a finger in the same location. And it's just like, I could care less. Okay, then we have The Great Pan is here, and listen, I hated the story. And I'm super, I know I'm going to sound super judgmental, but like, this, why was it in this collection? I mean, it gave us like cute little art because look at our little pan right here, but like, why was it in this collection? There's nothing scary about it at all. Like, these people have an encounter with Pan in the backyard, he takes over, they let him, and then they go and have fun the whole time. Like, that's not scary. These people just had like a religious experience with Pan, the god. I don't even know what he's the god of. Is he the god of nature? It's been a while. Like, I don't keep up. I don't even know which part of culture he's with. Is he Greek? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure he's like German. That goes to show you what I remember. However, there is one short story out there that has really great Pan horror. And I will forever stand behind The Lawnmower Man in Night Shift by Stephen King. And I read this book waiting for Pan to start eating grass in a horrifying manner and scaring the bejesus out of this 40-year-old man. That didn't happen here. He just kept being like, I'm going to steal your human. I'm going to steal your maiden. Ha 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 ha. You better go get her before I steal her. And it's like, okay, who cares? Like, it's not even that scary. So, yeah, I gave this one 2 stars because I could care less. And I was watching episodes of Teen Mom because that was more interesting while reading. Then I read the last story in this collection last night. I finished the Antimacassar. I didn't look that up. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I'm reading it in my head how I'm saying it out loud, and I'm probably off base. Anyway, last story in collection, last story by Grey Laspina. I gave this story 3.5 stars because, you know, it is a vampire story. We're following this girl who's like, oh yeah, I'm putting these pieces together. This girl went missing. So I'm going to go and stay at the house where she went missing. Girl. See, this is why so many women go missing, because people are like, I'm going to go and put myself in a dangerous situation. And it's like, no, red flags, people. Okay? Red flags. So she goes to the same place, and then the mom starts to like take her flowers, and she's like, I don't understand why you can't let me keep these flowers. Well, little Kathy, who keeps like being like, Mommy, I'm hungry, she's like obviously a vampire, and it gets very Dracula-esque. And then the ending just sucked. And I was unimpressed. I was like, what? That's the ending? Like, why did we even follow this female character? She didn't do anything. She put herself in this dangerous situation, and she wasn't even the hero. I just don't understand. So yeah, I think that this is a really fun collection. I do recommend it, mainly because Avril Laurel is queen. And you should all go read all of these stories by her in this collection. I mean, read the other ones too. But definitely buy this just for Avril Laurel, because Avril Laurel deserves all the hype. Like, I gave... How many stories she got in this collection? I think she's got like 6 stories up in here. Let's see. She got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? She's got 5 stories in here. And I gave 4 of them a complete 5 stars. And then the other one got 4.5. Avril Laurel gets all the stars. Okay, Gray Laspina, let's see, because she's the other one who's pretty big in this collection. Gray Laspina has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Also, they have the same amount. I gave that one 4.5, like 4, 3.5, and 2. So she's like hit or miss for me. But I think my favorite by Gray Laspina was the first story in this collection, The Remorse of Professor Pennybianco. I like that one. Eli Coulter, she's aight. She's pretty meh for me. I could pass on her. Mary Elizabeth Councilman, she only has got 2 in here. I liked one more than the other, but I think she is a strong writer. She's just inconsistent with some of her tone. So that's my thoughts on this. I support Valancourt books. If they would love to like send me books, I would love that. If not, like, I'm going to keep purchasing them, because I have somehow, since the end of 2020, acquired, like, 40 of Valancourt's books, because I just like what they're publishing. So, yeah, I'm here for this. This is really great. Not enough people are reading it. Go pick it up. Support women who were not famous enough and who have been forgotten, but are awesome weird tale writers. Hello. I am wrapping this video up, but also when I was editing, I noticed something that I said in my thoughts on the short story of The Rays of the Moon, and I had said something about snatching coily hair, which that sounds super racist, and I'm so sorry. I didn't edit it out because I think that it can lead to a good conversation of like reflecting and recognizing when you say stuff, and then turning it into a positive. And so I am so sorry. I recognize what I said, and I understand the implications, not only of how that is racist, but also the wording of it. And even though like I hadn't meant coily, I meant like super straight. That's what I said, and it doesn't matter if it's a foot and mouth syndrome kind of thing, which I have a lot of. I'm sorry. And so this is me saying I will try to do better. And if I do catch myself saying stuff, though, I promise to leave that in so that we can have discussions, because I think that that's important, especially when people say things that are not okay. We're all human, but we need to recognize it, reflect, and do better. And so I saw that, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe I said that. And regardless of what I meant, it shouldn't have been said. And so this is me doing better and trying to catch myself whenever I have biases or prejudices that slip out, that I didn't even realize, like, came out, because like that's like a super big red flag. And so I need to hold myself accountable. And you know, this is the problem with being raised on like Jerry Springer and Maury culture, where it's okay to say stuff like that. It's not okay. And so just because I was raised in that culture, I will do better, especially when I'm reviewing stories like this where there's not any diversity and it's all very white-centered horror. So I am super sorry. Also, I did want to touch on the topic of leprosy being a plot point in The Grey Killer. I do recognize that that is probably like not the best horror trope to implement, because of the long history of leprosy and the isolation of leprous people. So warning for if that content will bother you, and slight spoiler, the reason he turns people leprous is because their flesh tastes better than non-leprous flesh. So yes, it is something that I do think I needed to mention, and I hadn't in my review. So here is me doing better and trying to remember to mention these things. I have done a fairly good job with doing that stuff, like when I read Grown and as well as Let's Go Play at the Adamses, but I'm always trying to be better with letting you guys know some things that may not sit well with you, as well as holding myself accountable when I say biased, prejudiced, or racist things, because we cannot grow if we do not reflect and call ourselves out. So thanks for watching. Thanks for learning with me. I hope you picked up this book, and I will see you in another video. Bye.